Hello, my name is Peter Douglas and I'm the CEO of iPath. Welcome to our webinar focusing on the launch of our 2021 rental market reports. Firstly, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this event, and they are Cinnabon, GSR, Skyjack and Hinowa. Thank you very much for your support, guys. This is the 12th year that we have produced, in conjunction with Ducker Research, our rental market reports. Last year, the traditional format is focusing on North America and the top 10 European rental markets. Last year, we introduced a specific focus on China, something that we couldn't ignore as the fastest growing market in the world today. So we've continued that for the second year. We're focusing on China as well as the traditional report, but we've also added a new region for 2021, and that is Middle East, focusing on the three main markets in the Middle East for MUPS, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar. But many of the people that we interviewed work across the whole of the Middle East region and the GCC. So that's a new exciting addition to our reports. So you're going to hear from Ewan Udale shortly from Axis International, the editor of Axis International. Ewan will give his invaluable and unique insights into the world market of powered access rental, looking at different trends across all of the global regions mentioned. Then you'll hear from Ducker. Audrey Caron, Managing Principal of Ducker Research, will go through the key findings from one specific market. So we've changed it up a little bit this year. We're doing a bit of a deep dive into an individual country report to show you some of the things that are included in individual country reports, hopefully with a view to getting a lot of you guys who are focused on one region, one country, to see that the information held within these country reports is valuable to you for lots of reasons, including investment decisions, benchmarking against your competition and against the whole of the market within those particular countries and regions, and seeing what the trends and forecasts are with a view to helping you budget for 2022. And then I will do a quick wrap up and summary and tell you a couple of events that are coming up in the iPath calendar. But first, I'd like to introduce our first sponsor video. This is from Hinowa. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you to IPAF for inviting me to be part of this webinar. I will provide a brief overview of the international rental and mute market, concentrating on the areas covered in the IPAF rental market report, namely the USA, Europe, and China. An overall view of the global rental market is that North America and Europe have rebounded from the turmoil of the pandemic in 2020, while the sector in Southeast Asia, for example, is still widely seeing significant issues relating to lockdowns and restrictions. China, which is the largest mute market in Asia by far and continues to experience incredible growth, is also now coming under pressure from the pandemic and financial issues. Firstly, looking at the USA, it is clear the country's rental and mute sector has rebounded strongly this year, and some manufacturers and rental companies in the country are reporting a return to pre-pandemic levels. The American Rental Association's updated outlook, published in August, now forecasts that equipment rental revenues will increase 3.5% over 2020 and top $48 billion in 2021. The ARA forecasts that this level of annual growth will continue at least through to 2025. Sunbelt, the US's second largest mute and generalist rental company, saw its revenue rise by 16% in the 3 months to the 30th of June, which is the first quarter of its financial year, and revenues were up 7% on the same period in 2019. JLG has echoed this trend in its most recent financial statement by forecasting multi-year growth for the access industry for the foreseeable future. One area of concern in the USA is the ongoing supply chain constraints, which continue to be a challenge for the whole industry and the increasing costs of raw materials. On top of that, the US inflation rate hit a 13-year high in August and September, meaning that all those who are part of the industry are experiencing pricing pressures. While these issues are no doubt causing concern in the rental sector, the reality is there will always be challenges. It's worth bearing in mind that the rental and manufacturing industries were seeing the beginnings of a downturn in the second half of 2019, before COVID was known about, and were already forecasting a slower 2020. No one could have foreseen the upheavals of the pandemic, but we are now experiencing a revival from a period of negative growth that would have happened anyway, albeit to a much lesser extent. The positive forecast in the US is echoed across Europe, where the experience of the pandemic has been quite different depending on which part of the continent you're in. Overall, the southern countries in Europe, along with the UK, suffered more in 2020 than those more centrally and to the north. On the other side of the coin, those countries that were less affected by the pandemic in Europe have seen a smaller rebound this year. Those include the Nordic countries. Indeed, rental major Loxam said its revenues in Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark fell by 8.2% in the first quarter of this year, because the same period in 2020 experienced fewer pandemic restrictions and milder weather than the weather that was experienced in the first quarter of 2021. But that's not to say all the southern European countries and the UK, which had just officially left the EU when the pandemic struck, were in the doldrums throughout 2020, while other countries sailed through. For example, there is a mixed picture in Germany. While stability was the overriding experience of general rental during 2020, it appears the mute rental sector was less buoyant. For example, BBI, the country's Association for Construction, Equipment, Rental and Sales, said the demand for compact and rental equipment remains intact in 2020 in Germany, except for mutes, which saw a 7.5% decline. Although the forecast for the country is positive, the ERA forecasts a 4% growth across Germany's rental sector during 2021. France has also seen a bounce back. Again, Loxam's French business recovered significantly in the first quarter and returned to pre-crisis levels. It achieved a 13% increase in sales year on year. Gerard Dupre, Loxam's CEO, says he expects these fortunes to continue throughout the year and for the company to grow with it. Further south, Italy was affected dramatically by the pandemic, particularly in the first half of the year, but there has been a clear resurgence since then. From what I am hearing, the rental and manufacturing companies in the country thrown off the shackles created by years of economic turmoil and are looking at strong growth in the years ahead. Spain is in a similar situation. Its largest rental company, GAM, described the first half of this year as still being influenced by COVID-19, but it said revenue during the period was at pre-pandemic levels, and it had seen an 8% rise on the same period in 2019. Moving on to China. Its access rental sector has seen extraordinary growth, with a potential 300,000 MUPs now in operation in the country. The industry was over the worst of the pandemic by April last year. That is, until now. In recent weeks, there has been the news that Evergrande, China's second largest property developer, which is $300 billion in debt, is at risk of collapse. And there are increasing concerns over recent outbreaks of COVID-19 in the country. It is uncertain how this will affect our industry. However, continued growth of the MUP population is assured, as the sector has not yet reached maturity. Evidence of this meteoric rise in the access rental sector can be seen in AI's 2020 Access 15 listing of the world's largest access rental companies. There are now 3 companies from China in the top 10 this year, up from 1 in 2020 and 0 in 2019. It also reflects concerns that the market is now dominated by a few very large rental companies with a high level of buying power, which is partly the cause of historically low rental rates in the country. Growth among the Chinese OEMs has been equally impressive. Notably, the major general construction manufacturers that have set up access divisions in the last 5 or 6 years, among them XCMG, LGMG, and Zoomlion, have become major players in a very short period of time. With the fact that China's rental industry is still young, we can expect to see plenty more twists and turns as it heads towards full maturity. So, as we can see, the challenges remain across the international landscape. However, there is an essentially positive outlook for the access rental industry in the regions I have covered. Hopefully, that will continue. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. As every year, Ducker is preparing the IPEF MUPE rental market reports, which look at the evolution of main market indicators in various regions: Europe, North America, Middle East, and China. I am Audrey Courant, Managing Principal, Head of the Heavy Equipment Vertical at Ducker, and I will present an extract of one of our country reports. The estimates and market vision presented in the MUPE rental market reports are developed using a methodology consisting in triangulating data coming from in-depth interviews with market players, rental companies, but also MUPE manufacturers and other market experts, such as suppliers of manufacturers, associations representatives, etc. We also use secondary information related to construction, rental statistics, and other macroeconomic indicators. IPEF has been partnering with Ducker since 2009. We thus now rely on 12 years of historical MUPE rental market data. And over the years, Ducker has shown an excellent track record of forecasts accuracy. The IPEF MUPE rental market reports offer an in-depth analysis of the MUPE rental markets in Europe, North America, China, and, which is new to this 2021 edition, a vision of the Middle East market. For each region, Ducker analyzes market revenues and growth trends, fleet sizes and expected evolutions, fleet mix, including alternative energy penetration trends. We also examine rental companies' investment fluctuations and observe operational indicators like utilization rates, retention periods, payback periods, and rental rates evolution. These indicators, trends, and forecasts are extremely useful for companies active in the market. Rental companies, of course, but also equipment manufacturers, suppliers, and even investment funds, as they empower these companies to take informed decisions, whether investment planning, growth strategy, or business orientation. So today we will present to you an extract of the French report, with a look back on the year 2020 and forecasts for 2021 and 2022. Before starting, Ducker and IPEF would like to thank all companies who kindly participated to the project preparation and estimates development. After a very challenging year 2020, the French MUPE rental market experienced a strong rebound in 2021. Let's take a closer look at market indicators and how they've evolved in the past couple of years. As expected last year, France was severely hit by the COVID crisis in 2020, with minus 12% in rental revenue. The strict lockdown imposed between March and May 2020 stopped the economic activity. Both construction and non-construction activities were put on hold, and many rental companies forced to close business temporarily. This situation resulted in a drop in machine utilization. When activity started again, many rental companies decreased rental rates to try to make up for the lost business. That being said, the French market has shown very positive signs of rebound in 2021, which should allow to get back to pre-COVID revenue levels by the end of the year. Outlooks for 2022 are also optimistic, as moderate but solid growth is expected. After several strong years in fleet expansion and renewals until 2018, rental companies started entering a slower investment growth trend in 2019, which was evidently significantly accentuated in 2020 with the crisis. That year, a large portion of investment was frozen and postponed to 2021 or even to 2022. While renewals were slowed down and fleet expansion stopped, there was no significant defleeting in 2020, as most rental companies expected markets to quickly recover in the second half of 2020 and then in 2021. The French MUP fleet is now estimated to be north of 59,000 units. In 2021, only timid fleet growth is expected. Electric represents 32% of the booms, which is similar to 2019 levels. The transition to green energies has continued for scissors compared to 2018 and 19. The switch to electric power sources will continue, driven by customer demand and regulations, especially in large construction sites. With a 2-month pause in activity during the lockdown, the overall utilization rate dropped significantly in 2020. Despite this, activity rebounded sharply from the end of last year, which allowed rental companies to avoid falling below 50% utilization rate. In 2021, utilization rate is expected to return to 2019 levels, at around 60%. There is a fear, though, that materials supply chain problems will impact the construction sector. But it remains to be seen how significant this will be. After the lockdown in 2020, rental companies tried to get back as much activity as they could to compensate for losses. This led to a price war at end of 2020, as competitors needed to align to retain market share. With activity resuming in 2021, though, prices have rebounded to a certain extent. However, they remain lower than in 2019. We just took a close look at the French market, but I would like to share some general trends regarding the rest of the world. Europe as a whole experienced an 8% revenue decrease in 2020, driven by significant time utilization reduction coupled with pressure on rental rates, while fleet remained relatively stable. 2021, however, is showing very positive signs, and it is expected that overall, in Europe, rental revenue exceeds pre-COVID levels by the end of 2022. In terms of equipment trends, the market continues to see the penetration of electric engines growing in both scissors and booms fleets. The North American market is showing a very similar picture than Europe regarding both 2020 fall and 2021 expected rebound. China, on the other hand, shows a different situation, with a market that surprisingly did not slow down in 2020 and continued its strong revenue growth, mostly driven by fleet expansion. Globally, most rental companies report that the trend towards sustainability and reduction of carbon footprint will be the key challenge of the years to come. We hope that this short presentation answered some of the questions you had. More elements will be available in the IPAF MUP rental reports, which will be released in October. More specifically, you have the option of ordering several report packages. Global reports with all the countries, the global report with one country, or individual country reports, including the North American reports. All the information is gathered on the web link shown here on the slide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, I'm Julie Houston-Smith, the UK and Ireland Regional Manager for Cenoboom. Today, I've been asked to show you some of the safety features and benefits of the Cenoboom battery scissor product range. This is the Cenoboom 1930S, 19 foot 6 metre platform height hydraulic scissor platform, which is powered by 4 6-volt batteries situated in a lockable tray in the machine base. Locks are on both the cabinets at each side of the machine and are particularly useful to keep your battery pack safe and secure. In here, we have a set of maintenance-free sealed batteries, charged via an onboard battery-specific charger. Of course, it's possible to use different types of batteries in the Cenoboom product range. To do so, simply reprogram the charger to suit the type of batteries fitted. Another clever feature of the Cenoboom battery scissor product range is the transport protection bumper strip. This not only protects the paint finish, but also the decals from being scraped, damaged and becoming illegible. And speaking of decals, let me show you this one, the QR code. Scan the QR code safety decal with your smartphone and gain access to the operator's manual, parts manual, service manual and the CE Certificate of Conformity. Also, a useful change of ownership form which may be completed should your Cenoboom be moving to a new owner. Situated at the back of the machine, beside the emergency lowering handle, is the brake release system. This is particularly useful if the machine has been left completely discharged and needs moved out of the work area. The main platform and extension deck is anti-slip. Let me show you something clever about the control box. It doesn't matter if you're left or right-handed, the Cenoboom control box is designed to be fitted to either side of the deck. The cover on the control box prevents it from water ingress, dirt and paint overspray, and it's easily removable. With a robust yet smooth slide-out extension deck and guardrails designed to fold down quickly and easily on all models, the Cenoboom battery scissor range has a host of well thought out safety features and benefits. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much to Ewan and to Audrey for those great presentations and insight. Hopefully you saw from Audrey's update the individual country reports go into quite a bit of detail. And I would have hoped that you see, if you're in a particular region and you've not purchased these reports before, that they will be of use to you. Just to let you know, the individual country reports are available to IPAF members from as little as €174, £145 or $182. Surely a worthwhile investment for your particular country if you want some insight to help you forecast, budget and make some financial investment decisions. A huge thank you once again to our sponsors for today's event, Cenoboom, GSR, Skyjack and Hinowa. So just to let you know about a couple of events coming up, we've got our next IPAF webinar, which is on December the 14th, and the title is MUP Modifications, Tackling the Taboos. Please watch out for that and register on our events page on the website. And finally, coming up, hopefully, our physical event, our IPAF Summit and the IAPA Awards on the 10th of March 2022 in London. Again, please remember to register as soon as you can for that. when it was supposed to be held last year in 2020. We had sold out with about 6 weeks prior to the event. So please register for that event as soon as possible. Thank you once again. Please order your rental market reports at ipath.org/reports. Thank you.